So I'm this is my experience today, uh, reading the book and listening to the lecture and thinking back on my past, using using the argument, using the perspective, and using the experience. The book of arguments, the talk on a perspective development, a perspective that shows development, and my own experience, and then integrating all these. And something comes up inside of me naturally that just says, be at peace with it. But I don't think I would have the peace. I don't think I would have really understand that if I had gone through the experiences to be able to refer to, have a memory, to see where the pieces fit in. I was talking to a friend last night, and he was talking about a particular instance in which he had a particular response, and when he was sharing that response, he was driving home the point that his response was a good, healthy response. And I said, however, if you realize, because I know him and I know his history and his complaints about history and his prides in history and what he's gone through in a general way, I said, you wouldn't have had that response had you not been through all these experiences of loss. And in these experiences of loss gave you an understanding of what is of value to you. So you wouldn't be able to, you don't just respond naturally the right way as if you're divinely gifted. It didn't happen that way for you. And the reason why I said that was because I know that he has talked about how many times he's been mistaken and how many times he's lost tremendously something he held of great value at a depth level within him because of his own mistakenness. And how much of our studies the last 10 years have all centered around trying to understand why these mistakes occurred and how it was that our perspective led us upon this path of mistakes. And I try to drive home the fact that that's how we learn. We can't learn anything unless we're mistaken. Well, at least this is for those that decide to make choices. Those that make choices learn through their mistakes. If you already know something, then you're not learning anything. And I read an excerpt, I don't know where it was exactly, but basically this guy was trained in theology and seminary, at a seminary school, philosophy, and he came to the very similar conclusion that I came to, but a little different. Um, he was concerned about the definitions. So knowledge is based on, how we define a thing. And he was trying to affirm faith. And I have this aphorism: faith and belief are shed once you know. Faith and belief are shed like a serpent's skin once you know. And I was thinking back of this primitive state of Spengler's, this Dasein state of being, and the primitive clan village stage, of how, you're not doing things because you know them. You're being things out of who you are. And I think in a way this might be related to a return to paradise sort of thing, so to say, where we try and figure it all out and then we just say, you know, I'm never going to figure it all out. Let's just have a good time. And for me, there are certain things that, you know, if it's going to cause a problem and a conflict, you know, I understand there are certain things we need to stand up for. However, what are the consequences to standing up for something? You know, how rigidly are we going to set ourselves up in opposition to something? And I realize that um, people need a certain level of conflict to which at a certain point they break and they fold. It's sort of like in um, a betting war, a bidding war at poker, you know, and then somebody just folds their hand, you know. And for me, I realized that, you know, when I set myself in motion to do something, nothing gets in my way. And I have set myself in, I've discovered within myself that I will go so far as to permanently injure myself. I will be permanently injured. And that a lot of people I've talked to, especially healers, doctors, surgeons, they say, you know, you've got to learn when to cut your losses, so to say. You've got to learn that you can't go to that point where you're going to break or you won't be able to walk ever again. You're lucky you're walking now, so you got to learn this kind of thing. They never said it to me exactly that way, but basically that was the gist of it. Well, I had one doctor I really enjoyed, Dr. Roderick Sandin. He was a young guy, world renowned at a very young age, and I feel very blessed to have been a patient of his. And I'm very grateful for our social service systems, our insurance companies, the businesses that employ these insurance. I'm very grateful for our whole system to have met this individual. He said, Damon, I want you to do as much as you possibly can do as long as it doesn't hurt. And by the way, you're permanently disabled. I agree with your first surgeon. Because it was the second time, it was the second surgery that I was going through. Even at that point, even though I memorized what he said, recounted it verbatim, even at that point my family could not accept that I was disabled. You know, they had this image in their mind for me, and I wasn't meeting that image. That may have influenced this strong will in me, you know. Unknowingly, they may have wanted so much for me that was totally beyond me, that the only way I could even try to play at being that was by eventually killing myself in the process.